So we don't have a ton on the agenda for this week. I mean, we never do, but what do we have? We've got Victor supposed to be presenting 5453, but I don't know if he's made it. So we can probably skip over that one for now. We can talk a little bit about my WebRTC experimentation. I don't know if anybody's been following along with that, but the summary is basically that we want to use WebRTC for the next generation of wallet DApp communication. But we ran into a roadblock where you need to have some active server components to be able to initiate a WebRTC connection. Specifically, at minimum, you need a signaling server, which just has to pass messages between both sides of the connection. I can go a little bit more into depth on that, but we can talk about that after too, once everything else is out of the way.
Signaling server is only necessary for the initial connection setup. Is that correct?
The initial connection setup, and if one of the peers changes like network conditions. So like if you go from like a cell phone tower to a Wi-Fi connection, you'd have to signal there.
I'm not too worried about the case where someone is trying to use their wallet from a mobile device that is transitioning between cell towers.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't think it's too problematic. And like, so the big worry about the signaling server and the ICE and stun servers and stuff is that you need an active server. So for IPFS hosted sites, you wouldn't be able to connect.
These are
You,
there are public ones, but they would be able to censor, correct?
there are public ICE and ICE servers. They don't. So it gets really deep into the nitty gritty when you're investigating this. So there's two types of ICE servers. There's stun and turn. Stun is the one that allows you to punch through NATs, but doesn't do any relaying, and that one can't censor you. The only information it gets is the IP address of both sides of the connection, and that's it. So as long as you aren't censored on an IP level, you're fine.
Right. So if you're using an IPF website, all it knows is your two devices are talking to each other.
Exactly. And like Google hosts these, like Facebook, everybody hosts these giant servers for them, and they're very reliable. And I mean, they're incredibly easy to self-host too, if you want to, like, if you're going like super privacy focused. But they
Where are
don't
they
work.
used normally?
Pardon?
What is the use case normally? What are they used?
Oh,
Some applications that are using for them.
It's like Jitsi uses them, Discord uses them. Anybody who uses WebRTC for anything uses one of these servers.
Okay. Yeah.
So the big problem though is the signaling server. So this would be there are no large signaling servers that I can find. And the signaling server gets a little bit more, not that much more, but a little bit more context. It gets the each device's IP addresses, all of them. But that message can be encrypted end to end, so it's not that risky.
Does the signaling server get the origin?
It gets whatever we send to it. We get to choose.
Well, so I mean, browsers automatically append origin with if you're starting half the connection up from a web page, is it going to get whatever the browser sends and it says
It doesn't even need to be a web page, right? Like we could do the website displays a QR code, the wallet displays a QR code, and then you scan them. Like that's it. It doesn't even need to be HTTP.
So for the wallet side, yes, I thought web pages could only open HTTP connections, and only through the browsers. Sorry, I thought browsers could only open HTTP, and I thought it was only through the browsers like Fetch, which automatically appends headers.
Yes, but the browser wouldn't need to open a connection really. Like, so the I guess it would to receive it. But you can send like no refer on the links, right? So that they don't put the origin in there.
They also put origin. They just won't put refer. So if you go to tornado.cache or whatever, and you then try to connect through the signaling server, you're going to tell the signaling server from your browser. The browser end will tell the signaling server, "Hey, I am coming from tornado.cache."
Are you sure?
I am quite confident that browser will automatically add the origin to every external call it makes.
Like you're talking
It's
about.
usually an HTTP referrer. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah.
Like the HTTP header origin.
If you clicked on the link on that site,
So, like,
if you typed it in the URL, it wouldn't.
Right. So you go to some website, let's say tornado.cache, and tornado.cache needs to make an external HTTP request, and it uses browser's window.fetch to do so, right?
Yeah.
That fetch request is going to have an origin header on it, and then origin header will be
HTTP
tornado.cache. The refer is different. The refer is where you came from before the origin. So like if you went to google.com, search for tornado, and then clicked on the link to tornado.cache, the refer would be Google, the origin.
Fair enough. Thanks for the clarification.
And browsers are incredibly anal about making sure the origin is always there. Like they give no way to override it. I don't even know if plugins can override the origin. They might be able to though.
So that's definitely something to look into. But yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. So I guess WebRTC. I guess our discussion from the chat ended up with we can't really use WebRTC with this and also preserve all of the nice properties of like window.ethereum. So we're thinking of a little bit less ambitious protocol, which uses like a scheme handler, so like we've discussed previously, and then just using that to do like window.post message. So that takes care of extensions having to ask for a ton of permissions, but it doesn't solve mobile wallets and hardware wallets as elegantly. But yeah, if anybody else is like a front end developer and knows this stuff inside and out, please feel free to contribute to the discussion in Extension Registry, because I am way outside of my element with this.
Yeah, I guess we're trying to solve different problems. So that I'm just listening in. Picking a single extension by using a URL scheme seems overkill. But if you have multiple ones, then it's kind of a necessity.
Yeah, exactly. So like the whole discussion started because Sequence Wallet, their extension was fighting with MetaMask. So for people who had them both installed.
Yeah, we have a similar problem, except sometimes we want to still talk to MetaMask, and that kind of warps the whole requirement a little bit.
Yeah, so like sometimes you want to talk. So as a dApp, you want to pick a wallet specifically to talk to, and sometimes you want to allow the user to pick the wallet to talk to. Is that the kind of the problem?
Sometimes we want to talk to two different wallets from the web app, and sometimes we would just want to use the default one.
Okay, yeah.
I guess, and sometimes we want to talk to one other specific one. So all the different cases happen.
Yeah. So I think Wallet Connect has kind of an interesting approach to that. I think it's Wallet Connect where they have wallet specific schemes as well as one generic one. So
right.
Yeah.
I mean, we played around with Wallet Connect. The thing is that in terms of the registered wallet, there's only one. So Wallet Connect can kind of provide you to connect to the other wallets, but in terms of the registered one, like the one that actually puts the Ethereum provider, it's always the current one.
Yeah. Okay.
And using the window.post message thing we've been talking about would solve that. Certainly.
Right.
Yeah, the only annoyance is that if you wanted to connect to two wallets on the same dApp, it would pop up the chooser twice and would rely on the user having to select the two wallets they want to use. But I don't think that's like a horrible experience.
Right, but I couldn't actually get that to work.
Really?
Yeah,
Is
like-
this in Chrome or Firefox?
in Chrome.
So Chrome doesn't have a chooser at all right now.
Right, exactly. So the only thing that we've reliably been able to do is to disable all the extensions and then just enable the one by clicking, and that's just fraught with problems.
Yeah, it's somewhere
We were-
like. Sorry, go ahead.
Are we ready to drop the scheme handler given Chrome's position?
I thought their position changed. I remember that was the thing we talked about in the extension registry like 2 months ago. That somebody at Chrome was reconsidering that.
Do we have any more details about that? I feel like
Yeah.
that's pretty critical.
I mean,
I don't
the thing with the schema handler is that you can't have a schema to pick a particular one. So you're kind of saying, the browser has to ask the user every time. And once the user says, oh, this is the schema I want to use, then it won't ask you again. So.
I think that's okay. The vast majority of users will have one wallet most likely, and so they'll set it and never get a prompt.
Right, but that means a DApp can't pick a certain wallet. It just means the user is completely under control which wallet.
I mean, isn't that feels very desired to me? I feel like the user should be the one in control of which wallet that they're presenting. The DApp should have no control over that.
Yeah, I guess in our scenario we have some dApps that only work with our wallet, but that doesn't mean the user should have all their funds on our wallet. It just means that when they go to our dApp, they need our wallet.
I think this gets into then some sort of capabilities negotiation where you say, I need a wallet and the wallet needs to support X, Y, and Z. And
that would work. That would work. Yeah.
That's tricky to do with a scheme handler. With the window.post message, that's very easy. And
right.
But I don't
Yeah,
know,
like
I don't know how to do
this.
that with a scheme handler.
The scheme handler would be pretty simple to pick a particular wallet. Like, let's say we just standardize like the format for the URL, and it's going to be like web plus Ethereum / wallet dash, so that it matches the EAP 631. I think is the EAP number format for Ethereum URLs. And then you could just say, any wallet that wants to have their own thing that follows a similar pattern could have, web plus MetaMask, web plus Candid or whatever, and then they follow the same format, but they aren't officially standardized as like this is the way to connect to any wallet. It's just like vendor specific stuff. But yeah, capabilities would be really, really difficult to do with the handler because the user would have to cycle through every wallet that they have. There's no broadcast functionality.
Right. I mean, one thing I was playing around, if all the wallets actually registered themselves at the end of the document rather than the start of the document, then the DApp could add a proxy for Ethereum, and then they would see each wallet assigning the Ethereum object.
Oh, that's clever. So that would really work for if we still want to inject providers, but that doesn't solve the problem where we want to remove permissions from wallet extensions.
Yep.
Like I don't want MetaMask seeing that I'm browsing whatever websites I'm on. So
right.
Yeah, it's a tough problem, and I think we're basically just stalled until we find out what Chrome is doing. So if anybody has any contacts at Chrome and wants to introduce me, please do.
Drink the Google Kool-Aid.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I have some friends at Akamai too I can talk to. They might know someone at Chrome. So yeah, I'll do some digging on that and see what the status is. So I guess Victor is not here yet, so we'll have to deal with that later. So the next topic is EAP 5139 authentication. So this is the standard for like provider lists that I've been pushing. how do RPZ providers do authentication? As far as I'm aware, there's just username and password, like HTTP basic auth and HTTP bearer auth. Is there anything else I need to consider?
I guess a lot of them, like Infura, use like the keys and the path.
Oh, so like as a query parameter or something, or?
I've seen query parameter as well, but I was talking about like the just like the path parameter, like I don't remember what their term is.
Path parameter, yeah. Just like slash key.
Oh, but it's in the URL though. Yeah. Okay. So that should be okay. Cool. So that's easy enough.
No one should be putting secrets in URLs. We all know this, right?
Put all the secrets in URLs. It's all over HTTPS anyways.
Yeah.
I think the reason they do, like QuickNote, I think does this as well, and Infura does it. I think the reason they do it is because tools all were built without any sort of authentication. Like they don't support bearer or HTTP auth, and so it was kind of a fallback of, well, we got to put a key somewhere, and literally the only place we can put it that will actually work with existing tools like MetaMask and whatnot
is in the path.
URL. Yeah. So I think if we can start getting everyone to support bearer auth, then hopefully we'll start to see them switch to bearer auth as well.
So
they're gonna have to come second.
To be clear, for bearer auth, it's just a HTTP header you have to add. There's nothing fancier than that.
More or less, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I mean, I think there's some specifications on like what that header contains. Like you can do JWT tokens. I think there's a spec for that. But
yeah, as far as this file, like the list is concerned, though, it's just adding a string of text.
Yeah,
that's easy. Cool. My partner and I made a mock-up of an all wallet devs website. It's in the agenda. I can link it again in the chat if you guys like. If anybody has any suggestions, feel free to open a PR. It's really simple. Neither of us are front-end designers, so yeah. There's that. And I guess last, are there any wallets that have cool features they want to show off for the recording that I can tweet about, or
I was just going to ask Micah if he's interested in seeing what I was working on in my wallet, because I do have one here that I can show briefly.
No, don't ask me. It's
go for it.
Yeah. Oh, the group then. Awesome. I didn't know if this is the forum or not, or if other people followed the any of the thread earlier. But I do have a wallet. And this is just kind of the dashboard you get to when you first come in. I don't know how well it's coming through. It's pretty rough at the moment, but I only added one wallet to it. And for those of you that are curious, because you see one button here, which is called a checkout button. And the idea of the wallet is really for payments. And I have hard coded it to only support tokens that I issue. And what else? I also have the concept of different types of wallets. So this particular wallet that I have imported is just the public wallet address. So the concept here is creating an app that a small business owner could run, and they could use it in their store for generating payment requests. And I did follow EIP 681 for the payment request. So I'll show you here what happens when I click the checkout. So what it does is, because if you kind of think of if I'm a merchant and somebody purchased something, and I would normally go to a payment terminal and type in however much they needed to pay. So let's say I type in $1.23 that somebody owes me, and then I hit the checkout at the bottom. Then there is the payment code. Payment request code that it does. You actually can scan that. It should generate an EIP 681 payment request, and it basically says what chain, what token, and the token amount there of 123. And So that's the concept of the wallet right now. But the discussion I had with Micah earlier on this week was this is really good for in-person transactions, like a small business owner. I go into the shop, let's say, paying for a cup of coffee. But because this is just my ad, this right now in this mode, it's just a glorified QR code generator because I imported this wallet address just by scanning a QR code generated by MetaMask, let's say, which is the wallet address. This wallet doesn't have the private keys on the phone, which is kind of great for a merchant because they can set up an app like this for all of their employees, each one with a different wallet address, and then in the back end they can sweep the accounts type of thing for any of the incoming payments. Obviously, returns, different story because they can't send transactions from here. But because this is a QR code, it is very possible, or it would be very easy to implement a plugin in something like WooCommerce or any kind of e-commerce application, because they don't need to store private keys, but they could generate a payment request similar to that. But the problem is, if I have two people on a website and they each make a payment, or their order, their cart, when they hit the checkout, they both have a $5 order, and then the merchant, the store, only gets one payment of $5. How do they know which person to credit that $5 to? Or let's say they don't receive the full amount, they receive a partial amount. And so that's one of the things that Micah was helping me with this week. And so we have this concept now of including a payment ID with that QR code, so that when the sender scans the code and approves the transaction in their app, they can include the payment ID along with the transaction. So I pushed out an ERC20 contract with that in it. Anyways, I can go on and talk about this, but anyways, there's the high level.
It's looking pretty sick. So how does the payment ID work? Is it just like tacked on to the end of the call data, or?
So the first thing I had to do was modify the ERC20 contract. So we included the ability for when the sender is signing the transaction, they can include this additional parameter. So we actually created a new transfer type. I forget what the function was called. It was probably transfer with payment ID is what I called it in the smart contract. So that when I send the token, I send it using this new transfer method, and it accepts the payment ID in that transfer method. And if it's blank, because it's optional, if there is nothing, then it's just considered zero. This way, I've actually was able to query the transaction hash on the blockchain in Polygon Scan, and I can see in the input data, payment ID is there. So now when the merchant, or I can have an app that when it pulls that transaction from the blockchain, it can parse out that payment ID, and they can reconcile it on the back end with whatever
That's neat.
ordering system they have. So.
Yeah. So playing the devil's advocate a little bit, what's different about adding like random dust to the payment amount and then using that to track it?
And thank you everyone for the thumbs up. You mean in just the standard ERC20 contract?
Yeah, you do like $1.25 DAI plus 64 or like bits of like fractions of a DAI.
Oh, well, so first of all, I use my own ERC20 token.
Yeah, whichever
which is the
ERC20.
payment type. Okay, great. I'm not sure I follow you.
So the balance you have to pay is 5 tokens and then 0.18 zeros or whatever, right? In the smallest fraction. So just
I have two decimal places because the idea
Yeah.
is to use a stable coin, so it would be
I-
simulate
just-
a dollar, let's say. Go ahead,
Point of
Micah.
feedback. I recommend doing 18 decimal places, even if you only need 2, because there's a lot of stuff will break if you only use 2. USDC causes no ends of problems because they use 6, and they're like the only token in all of existence that uses anything other than 18. So you use 18. Even if
And
you-
USDT as well, but they also cause problems.
they cause even more problems.
Yeah.
USDC just needs to be deleted.
Right.
Okay.
They don't return when they should. Exactly.
Yeah.
I do other stable coins, and all right, I might have to ask you for professional type of work that I do. This one's just a hobby, so I might have to ask you the impact of that then.
Yeah, it's just lots of apps. It's one of these situations where like everybody uses 18 except for like 2 people, and those 2 people cause no end of problems because they are the ones that don't follow. And unfortunately, when the standard's written, people thought it was a good idea to allow everybody to choose their own decimal amount. But it turns out that was actually kind of, we all regret it. Like everybody who was around back when the ERC20 was written, we are all like, God damn it, why did we add that? It just encourages people to use something other than 18, and it causes problems. Just little bugs here and there, just everywhere. It's like one of those things that's, there's not one specific problem that it causes. It's just life becomes miserable for you and everybody who tries to integrate with your stuff.
Just use 18.
If you
I know I'm gonna ask you more details about that, and I'm probably gonna Google it now because I never thought of that.
Yeah. But yeah, so like let's say you did have a token with 18, like DAI and USDC at least has 6. So if you took like the last, the least significant 2 decimal places, and randomized them so that each person who paid that address gets a random amount of dust, like payment,
Yeah.
and then you use that as your payment ID, because that would work with basically every token.
I will take your devil's advocate and respond before Bug can. And a lot of UIs get very unhappy when you have number dot 0.000000000000001. And so just the user experience ends up kind of bad.
And I also felt that if there was partial payment, I might need to reference the same payment ID and make additional payment. One of the other scenarios that I haven't worked out yet is, in the scenario I just showed you for like a coffee that was $1.23. What if when the customer wants to leave a tip? Right now, I don't have the ability to tip, but I can imagine that the app could have a, hey, do you want to add a $1 tip or a 10% tip type of thing? And then it would be sent as a different amount. But that doesn't necessarily talk about your dust, but
No, it totally does. Like if you add like a 3% tip, like that would screw it up entirely. So the payment ID
Yeah.
is definitely more resilient.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Thank you.
The other option for this sort of thing is if you don't have your own token. So if you have your own token, then what you just described works fine. If you want to work with other tokens like USDC or ETH or whatever, not ETH, WETH, then I think the other solution is to just append call data. And this is one of those things that probably shouldn't work, but it does. And then you can just look for the transactions that are sent to your address. And then the call data will have the normal transfer stuff, but then it'll have extra bytes that the contract will ignore. And so
But it is still recorded on chain, you're saying?
Yes, it's still part of the transaction.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so it's still recorded everywhere. It just is ignored by the contract. And so you
Yeah.
can put any data you want basically at the end of a call. It's not the best pattern to follow. Like it's very obscure and opaque. But if you're in a situation where you need this information and you're using someone else's token, it's an option, and some people do it.
And I actually, in fact, I intend to use my own token, and the app would be hard coded to use just my token and none
that's the
others.
case. Yeah, I think what you've done with a specific method.
But that token could be used in other wallets. There's nothing preventing.
Sure.
So I'm assuming you've extended 681 to include the payment ID as well, or?
I have not yet.
Okay.
The
No,
only
like
thing-
theoretically.
But that was one of the things that, is it an extension of 681? In fact, when I was reading 681, it's really just a way of representing the request in a URL, and it includes additional parameters that you can add on to the URL. So technically, it may not need to be rewritten. It's just, in my use case, I add a parameter of payment ID equals whatever.
Yeah, I don't. 681 is just arbitrary method call.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's
Right.
not.
Yeah.
You can do anything.
So I don't think 681 needs to be modified, but perhaps an extension to ERC20 could be suggested for to include.
That.
Probably not calling it a payment ID. It might get suggested even something a little bit more generic. I forget what you said, but some type of unique ID to go along with it.
Yeah, that's what we do with the Luxo standards. We basically have a key value addition to the ERC20, so you can put whatever data you want on top.
Oh,
of
did you do that as well? In which token?
It's generic. We have LSP7 and LSP8 tokens, which are like a subset or a sub version of ERC20, and they have key value storage built in.
Do you have a link for those? You can stick
I'm
them in the
gonna-
chat because that'd be cool.
I'm writing this down so I don't forget. LSP7 and LSP8.
Yeah.
And like you said, if there's a link, I'd love to look it up to see how you did it as well. But I think it's a very useful feature.
So this kind of goes into another idea I've been kicking around for way too long. Would there be any interest in standardizing a URL format for requesting payment in one of N token types? So like, I am willing to accept 7 USDC, 7 DAI, 0.05 ETH, and you pack that all into a QR code and send it to the other wallet and they decide how to pay. Would that be something useful for anybody?
I mean,
I
it
guess
seems
there
like
had
it
to
would
be some
useful.
time, some deadline how long it's valid if you accept multiple ones.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's volatile. It's too volatile.
Yeah, this would be literally for like, I'm splitting a bill at a restaurant and I'm
Mhm.
showing the code to my friends and this is how much
In
they owe me.
multiple currency.
Yeah.
Oh.
I would do. I wouldn't do ERC. I would actually just say array of functions to call. So it's more generalized. So basically, call one of these, and basically do an array of 681s, more or less. And that way you can.
So
do
then how would the
flexible-
wallets display the UI for that? I feel like it'd be really difficult.
Presumably the same way they display UI for 681. No.
Well, it only accepts one URL. It could be multiple parameters then, and perhaps currency 1 equals whatever, currency 2 equals BA, currency 3 equals whatever. But then it all depends on the wallet that you're scanning to interpret it, unless again it was standard parameter names. Let's say, I don't know. Me personally, I think what's going to happen is stablecoins there's probably going to be a move more towards stablecoins for use cases like that. But to me, maybe other people feel otherwise. But
Yeah,
I
no,
guess
I think you're right.
Is your
I think-
argument here, Sam, that someone could send 2 transactions, one of which is a token transfer and one of which is a go place a bet on a lottery? Like they don't need to be related. Whereas if you constrain it to just an array of token transfers, they all use the same UI.
Exactly.
Be
So
like-
like I'm thinking like the scenario I'm thinking more in like the L2 world too, right? Where like I'm on Arbitrum, you're on Optimism, and I have to figure out how to get, 1 hamburger's worth of money from one person to another person in this multi-chain world. How can we do that with a QR code? That's kind of the scenario.
And you want to
Yeah,
be able
the
to
way-
say, here's a QR code, send me money somehow, and here's the 73 different ways I accept payment.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think I interpreted your request slightly different. Not even just the 7 different ways, but you even said, "Hey, somebody owes me $10, and that $10 can be X ETH, X Matic, or X Hello Kitty token." I thought that was my interpretation, that you
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
did the currency conversion and priced it to them in multiple different tokens that they could pay you with.
Yeah, it's kind of like announcing that like I want to receive enough
that's
currency to cover some purchase. Exactly. Yeah.
Or would you require certain percentages of each, or you're just saying you want X and you want the other ones to sum to that same thing?
I haven't thought too much about the details, just about the use
Yeah.
case. Like, if you took all of the currency that you receive from this URL and converted into like a hamburger, it should equal 1 hamburger. However, that money gets there is irrelevant. Yeah, exactly. As long as in the end you get some equivalent amount of value out of it.
Right. I was just asking because you were talking about splitting a bill. I think you would have to split the bill first and then say, well, this part of the bill, you can pick whatever.
Exactly. So, like, if there were 5 people, you generate five QR codes.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So does this
I
also
know. I think the payments are going to move to stable coins. So the longevity
which
of
one?
something like that.
Which one?
Well, but at least it's going to be yeah, it doesn't have to be a specific stable coin, but the value of the underlying asset in the stable coin is going to be US dollar, which equates to the US dollar that you want to pay in, for
But
example.
like, I would never want
Why
to
US
receive
dollar?
USDC.
I'm just saying it. If you're, it could be hamburgers. The point is, I think the stable coin.
For
is
sure, but like,
organic
I would
better.
never receive USDC. I think it's a terrible, like, the fact that it has a blacklist means I won't touch it. So I won't accept a payment in USDC.
Okay. So well,
He wants
I
to go
get
say,
you.
I'll expect any one of these 4. Pay me in whatever you want, but it's got to be one of those that I accept.
yeah. And my wallet is hard coded to a specific token, anyways.
Right.
So it only
Would you want-
requests it in my token.
Right.
Would you want, Sam? Would you also want to support Bitcoin, Zcash, Monero, Dash? Or
I
is
mean,
it
I'm
just
I'm happy
Ethereum?
just standardizing it on for Ethereum related contracts, but if somebody else wants to take on the, universal payment URL RFC, they can go and do that.
What is this universal payment URL? I'm maybe not familiar with it, or is this the 681 that you're talking
Oh,
about?
I'm joking about it right now. Just like
Okay.
yeah, like a URL that supports Bitcoin and Ethereum and Venmo and PayPal, and just pack it all into one standard.
Well, that's what 681 is. It talks about it. The very first little bit talks about, because you do include the chain. It includes Ethereum at the beginning. But you're right. It could say Bitcoin at the beginning. I believe 681 does discuss
Yeah,
that.
681 hard codes to Ethereum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only accept Doge, Zcash.
I want gold.
and-
Oh wait, that doesn't go digital.
Just gold.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you,
I
everyone,
think
for
limiting it.
entertaining me and looking at my little demo, my show and tell.
No, it looks awesome. And do wallets support 681 now? Like, if I were to scan that with MetaMask, would it just
Yes,
work?
if you
or-
did scan it with MetaMask, that's actually how I learned about the format, because I was going to create my own format, which would have been proprietary, but then I looked at what MetaMask generated, because almost all wallets have the request payment, but all they ever do is just show their public address. They don't do a enter the amount you want to receive
Right.
often, or what token you want even. But MetaMask does, and I believe it did. Anyways, that's how I discovered it, was doing it with MetaMask. So if you scan that code with MetaMask, it will ask you for that $1.23 in my standard token, in my custom token. You won't have it in your wallet, but if you want some, just let me know. I'll forward it on to you. There's no
The,
reserves right now.
leaking some alpha here,
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to do in a couple months. I've been planning to do a pilot at a local bar where I'll give people enough credit in their wallet for like 3 drinks, and let the store owner run the merchant wallet on their app and accept payment. I want to see how
Oh, that's
that
going to be a great test. Yeah.
goes.
Whereabouts?
I am in Hungary at the moment.
Oh,
So
cool.
it'll be in Hungary, which is great because 1 drink is going to cost you about $1. So
Nice.
if I give them $5, that $5 is going to go a long way.
So you're buying for everyone?
I will do. That's exactly it.
It's going to
I will buy for everyone who pays using my wallet, and whatever the merchant collects in their wallet. I won't even give them the wallet in case if they're worried about losing the private keys or something. But the way that this works, from a merchant perspective, it's essentially a cold wallet. It's just
Right.
it's just a view wallet, a watch wallet.
That's cool.
But
Yeah,
it's going
what we have with our universal profile, you can basically go in and take away the permissions. So you can go in and you can configure that particular wallet on that browser to not be able to do certain things. So you can just have the permissions to only show things.
Which this is the LS8 or 7 and 8 you're talking about?
Part of the universal profile, which is the extension that we're building. That's why it needs to like connect to different things. Like if you wanted to control your wallet.
Yeah, I use. So I this is a project what I just showed you, but I also happen to issue tokens using ERC 3643.
Right.
That's kind of my day job, and so I'm familiar with that token standard.
Right.
And we can do permissions. Cover your ears, Sam, but we can block an address. We whitelist addresses. We can do recovery of our tokens.
Yeah, basically what it is that, yeah, exactly. It's universal profile.cloud. So when you go to universal profile.cloud, if you wanted to control your profile, you would have to use our wallet. But if you wanted to use that wallet to do something else, you don't really need to use our wallet, right? So
what it's universal profile is the wallet?
it's called the universal profile extension. It's not public yet. So
okay.
Test versions, and that's what we are building. I mean, you can download it, but it only runs on a test net. It's not.
Okay. Is that did somebody just put that in the chat? I'll
Yeah,
definitely,
yeah. I put the tech documentation for the Luxo stuff.
Okay.
And yep.
Cool.
I can also demo about the interceptor if people are interested about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You followed me, so.
Yeah, do we want to show it off, or Kalar, you want me to do it? Or do you want to do it?
Either is fine. Do you have some nice demo case?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Sure,
Is it cool if I share my screen? All right.
Yeah. I just noticed that Vitalik has 6,000 each, so it's going to be better this time.
Yeah, I know he refreshed a bit.
Maybe he listened to me.
All right. So this is my first meeting. Have we shown this off at all yet? Is there anything? Is any of this going to be like, I don't know,
No, I don't think
duplicated, or this is the first time?
Yeah, this is first time, and I don't think anyone knows even what the interceptor is.
All right. All right, cool. So, yeah. All right, so the team that we formed is called the Dark Florist. We are working on a product called the Interceptor. The Interceptor is a browser-based extension that offers a whole lot of functionality, but works in conjunction with MetaMask. So we have here kind of, the normal flow is that, your dApp will talk to MetaMask and you'll get like a bunch of garbage and have no idea what it's about to do. The Interceptor actually replaces the Window.Ethereum object in order to take control of the of how the dApp talks to Ethereum, and only in certain cases does it bother asking MetaMask for anything, and it does so via signing. So it's really only going to forward a signing request. So the Interceptor never holds onto a private key. It just provides read helpfulness to prior to that. So we have a download right here. Unfortunately, because the whole Chrome stuff that I'm sure many of you are all aware of, we don't have a working Chrome version yet. It will work in Chrome. It just won't get approved and signed because it's a V2
Yeah.
Manifest V2.
based extension, but
Yeah.
it works for Firefox, and we have some dev. Yeah, so I think we'll probably include some instructions here for now, just if you're kind of interested as a developer to try to load it up into Chrome. It's not difficult, but you just have to go through, a debugging page that looks pretty scary. But for Firefox, you can just click on this. I already have it installed, so I'll cancel it. But if you click on this, it'll load it right into your right into your Firefox browser. This is Firefox right here. See here. Okay, so I already have this thing loaded up here, and so actually I wasn't quite prepared for this. Okay. So because we have replaced the window.ethereum object, we can do all sorts of things. Probably the first and most obvious thing that we can do is lie about who we are, right? We can say whoever, we can say we're Vitalik even though we don't have his private key, which kind of allows us to test what dApps look like from various, perspective of other other users, and change balances and pretend that we have more money. So for example, we have a button here called Make Me Rich, which is really just a template that kind of begins to fork mainnet right in your browser. It doesn't actually fork it. It has another technical means that it does this. But if you do this, see, we add a simulation outcome here, which is adding 200,000 ETH to your account. And now you can see we've gone from having 6,000 ETH to 206,000 ETH. And because we've created this simulation stack, this isn't just a single transaction that we run. We can actually add lots of things to it. For instance, we can use, let's say, so he had 6,000 ETH before, so we can actually spend 7,000 ETH and buy some tokens. Let's say, I don't know, what's some token? How about what's a good one? ENS. So it is, again, currently only talking to the interceptor. So we're going to experience some pretty serious slippage here. Let's go ahead and do it anyway because it's fake money. Yes, I totally want to spend all this fake money. So in doing so, again, we have not talked to MetaMask yet. This is the interceptor, and it has taken the transaction that was about to be executed, and it has simulated it, and it described it. So it's not looking at the call data to do this. It's actually conducted a test version of this call after the Make Me Rich. They're saying like, hey, if you do this, you are going to lose 7,000 ETH, and you're going to gain 86,000 ENS tokens. We can kind of see these outcomes here. There's lots of other contracts that are changing their balances, but the only one we really care about that's highlighted here is you, the user. Lose this, gain this. And we say simulate. We can add this to the simulation stack, and we will see these balances update. It's a little slow because Uniswap only refreshes on new blocks. But yeah, you can see now we actually have less than 200,000 ETH, right? So we spent ETH we didn't have. We gained a whole bunch of ENS tokens. And because we're creating a simulation stack, we'd even go back the other way, right? We can take all these ENS that we just acquired, and experience, a pretty significant loss, right? We need to approve in order to operate with Uniswap, right? So it won't even show us a swap button until we approve, right? But we can just fake the approve by adding it to our forked like simulation stack. And again, it tells us what's happening. It's like, hey, you are allowing Uniswap to spend all of your ENS. Add it. Again, we're starting to create the simulation stack, and every single call that happens on this page, because it goes through the interceptor's Web3 object, every single call gets the result after all of those requests having been done first, right? So we can sell all these things back. Yes. We just turned 10,000 ETH into 510 ETH like in 1 minute.
That's
Trader right here.
You're a good trader.
Yeah, and so we can see all these things. We're working on some APIs to actually export this simulation stack. So the actual transactions we're trying to run in order to create bundles of transactions, similar to how Flashbots might land things. So it allows you to kind of construct bundles in a really, really user-friendly way without having to do some programming. And then one last thing that I want to show, which is kind of the reason we started creating this before we kind of found out how cool all the other simulation stuff was. So this is just a kind of a low-level transaction creating service. that just allows you to basically run, really, really simple queries. One of the things that we noticed was that there was a lot of scams. Like I come from kind of like the scam industry of like trying to protect users and help users recover funds. And so there's lots of terrible things that can happen. Probably one of the worst things that happens with ERC20s is that people accidentally send them to themselves. People will say, I want to send 100 DAI to my friend, but they accidentally had the DAI contract address in their clipboard when they did it. And so here we're going to try to send one DAI to DAI itself, and MetaMask will let you just happily do this, and you'll just burn all your money, even though it's really, really easy to detect. So yeah, you can see our simulation stack is still there, but here we see we're going to send one DAI to DAI, and it's like, hey, you're probably not doing the right thing, and it actually won't even let you proceed until you deal with some blocking UI elements that make you understand like what it is you're about to do. And normally this is going to be enough to kind of break somebody out of their trance of like, wait, I'm about to do the wrong thing, and hopefully save people money. We've got a whole bunch of these in there, from really high gas price to approving EOAs, which is another common scam method. So we're hoping that we can prevent a lot of users from getting scammed, both through allowing them to simulate things before they do that, and by actually providing built-in protections for various known problems that people experience with UX and crypto.
That's a great idea. I've been working on some fraud protections as well that I do in wallet and out of wallet. We'll have to talk.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, yeah, and it's funny, this is operating on Ethereum without having the private key is very similar to the stuff that you were showing on Europe, right? That's starting to become a thing. It's like, you don't need to have the private key to kind of do useful things and interact with with Ethereum and learn things and have conduct transactions.
I didn't understand. How do you do the simulation part?
So the simulation is something that we're working on standardizing, but in the meantime, we have written our own API that allows us to simulate like a stack of transactions. So just like there's an ETH call, we basically wrote our own version of ETH call that takes an array, and every time we get let's say the Uniswap says, hey, can you get me the balance of ENS, right? How much ENS does this person have? Instead of turning around and doing an ETH call, we do this multi-call where we stuff all of these transactions into this array and then append this one to the end of the array and conduct the transaction. So we're doing a lot of simulation in order to return this value here of 0.001852. Right? We're running every single transaction before using a customized RPC method. There are standards that are being pushed forward that I think would be really, really great to get through, but they're not in mainline Geth yet. Although there are PRs open, and we're trying to get the resources and political alignment in order to actually get those merged, because I think it's going to help a lot of people.
It's quite similar how Hard Hat is doing the mainnet forking, but kind of we have kind of more efficient solution to do it, but it kind of achieves the same thing.
Yeah, it achieves the same thing, but using a very different method, right? You don't have to go through and say, I want to start forking. You just we just create stacks of transactions and keep track of them and always ask questions with perspective of those transactions. There are ways that we can save users from scams using this as well. A lot of times people, if they're going to buy a token that they can't sell, they could literally go through the process of buying it and selling it before they ever actually buy it. And I think there's a lot of, I think people can explore Ethereum a lot more if they can, run transactions that they can't afford or that they don't want to do, with their own money yet until they've seen how it works. I think it's going to be really, it's going to, I think, open up a lot of people to see what Ethereum's capable of, even if, you can't yourself create a, $10 million, liquidity position. It'd just be kind of cool to see it in simulation modes. There's a bunch of other stuff. There's the way that website access is tracked, I think, is a lot more meaningful. It has a better breakout of addresses that are kind of correlated because you use them on the same website. We also have address books that we're hoping to try to push forward more on. That so again, users make that mistake where they send money DAI to the DAI contract because the UX around address books hasn't really been great, especially in MetaMask. And so hoping we can basically solve a lot of the security and scam and just users make mistake problems with better UX that I think that MetaMask kind of hasn't really.
I'd love to share
been-
some of what I've done with you and get ideas and collaborate on that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I think there's a lot of ideas in this space, and I think that cool. So yeah, if you're running Firefox, I recommend checking it out, and we'll post some instructions about how to do it in Chrome as well. It probably only takes about just a couple minutes to do, but it's not something I would want an end user to do. But just if you're interested from a development standpoint, so checking out what we do and how we get it done. Yeah, and again, the website was dark.florist.
And we are doing all the development open in the Discord as well. So if you're interested in following, you can just hop in there and follow the development.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, this is all open source. This is the extension here.
I think one important thing you didn't mention is that you can actually have things signed with MetaMask at the end.
Oh, sure.
You mentioned you didn't demo.
Yeah, totally. So I don't think I have any money loaded in this stuff, but yeah, so you could absolutely do the same things with your live accounts. So if this guy had any money, sorry, I wasn't prepared to demo this right now, but yeah, if you have money in this account, you could do the same thing where you would say, I want to trade this for some ENS, and when you hit swap, you're going to see the same exact tools that pop up that allow you to simulate, that allow you to see the transactions before they occur, and you can even take your own address and start creating a simulation stack based on it. And those are where those bundles become a lot more interesting, because you can see all the things that are happening before you try to land them all on chain at the exact same time. One of the big pushes we're also making is trying to get users that are able to white hat recover their own accounts when they've been scammed. There's a whole series where you basically need to use bundles for that, and we have some work that we're doing to basically convert that simulation stack I showed before into a bundle itself that allows, hopefully allows users to recover funds that are kind of locked up by scammers. That part's not finished yet, but I think it's pretty close.
So, how do you handle things like getting sandwiched or somebody sneaking a transaction in before yours and then changing the outcome of the simulation?
Yeah,
basically, is there a window for a new type of attack where somebody crafts a contract that does one thing in simulation and then a different thing on chain?
So, basically, it is possible that somebody could kind of target the interceptor. It's almost always possible to tell that your EVM code is running in a simulation versus not running in a simulation. And so, even without doing any sort of crazy front running, it's probably possible to do that. This will be a bit of a cat and mouse game. So basically, somebody could create a token that says, okay, you can buy this and sell this if you're in interceptor simulation mode, but you can't sell it on real mainnet, right? Because they might recognize they always choose this miner as this validator is the one that's running in the EVM when they simulate. It is something we're going to have to fight against. We might be able to get to perfect simulation. I don't know, Micah, do you think it's possible that we could ever get to because if you can use private relay, you can prevent those, right? If you can privately get your transaction, you can avoid front running. The only thing you need to worry about is simulation detection.
And
reorgs down the validator are tough.
Yeah.
Because we can find out what the next validator is, and we could simulate with the next validator, so it looks very legit in that sense. But validator privacy is something that's on the roadmap where you will not be able to predict the next validator, at which point we now need to pick a validator. And I guess we could choose a random validator from a list or something, and that would help protect us. Yeah, like I said, I think it's a cat and mouse game. It's maybe we can win that game one day. It's hard though. It's so easy to accidentally leak that you're in a simulation.
But right now, it's basically it's like a cat and nobody game, right? It's like They can just create these tokens that will totally scam the users, and it's trivial for us to detect that they're going to get scammed. But you know what? We just don't have the UX to show them. So good luck with holding on to your money. It's like at least we're participating in the game at this point.
One good example of that, when Scott was making those transactions with a huge amount of slippage and then executing them in the simulation. And in the simulation, we are showing that you actually get that amount of tokens. But actually what would happen is that someone would front run and would sandwich attack that. And at the moment, we are not showing anything that you are making this kind of transaction, the huge slippage, which you probably shouldn't be making. And we are planning adding that kind of custom UIs that would show that you are adding a kind of huge amount of slippage, so that you might not be getting this amount ENS in the first place. And this is something that we're still working on in.
Right. So right here in the transaction outcome for this swap, we see like, hey, you're going to lose 10,000 ETH and you're going to gain this, but we only think that amount of tokens is worth 1,000 ETH. Right. And so there could be, again, some sort of like a blocking UI element here that says, hey, what you are receiving and what you are losing is wildly different, and you should understand that. And
also, if you send that transaction, someone might sandwich you. So we are going to add that kind of, that you would show that you are adding this amount of slippage. So you probably kind of should adjust it down as well. Right.
If I come over here to like, somebody actually sent that to like 40.
Yeah. That one.
Yeah, detecting the slippages. So again, those are more protections here, but we do have the infrastructure for this, right? We do have the we call them the protectors. What do we call them?
Yeah, protectors. Yeah. We should be
adding protector
for that, and also showing that kind of the Uniswap UI better. That you are kind of showing that slippage directly.
Yep. Yeah, and they're very simple to write. So yeah, if anybody wants to contribute some of these, if they have good ideas, like they're very easy. So here's another one. Like if you are giving an approval to a contract that is not Etherscan verified, right? You're probably doing something bad. Like, well, we'll let you proceed, but it should be I need to click a button that says I know I'm about to get scammed here, and then they can get scammed. Yep. All right. Any other questions?
That was great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Victor, did you want to talk about your EAP or?
Oh yeah. All of a sudden, thanks. Just I mentioned to Sam for kind of sharing some of my EAP works, and so I just want to go quickly showcase here. And one of the things that I think might be interesting for the wallet. Oh, sorry, I was confused. Is the streaming ending?
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a little over time, so people might drop off.
Oh, okay. Yeah, didn't mean to drop people off. So if anyone is interested, I have been advocating for this EIP 5453 endorsements, which you can also see a reference implementation. The idea is that there is EIP 2612 permit for ERC20, and there's a bunch of others that take ECDSA signatures in a call, and so that you can give people on one-time permits. This takes a different approach. EIP 5453 do endorsements, which is basically saying, just like if you issue a check to someone, you can endorse it in the back so that when they give it to someone else to cash it in, it can still go in. So if you implement the EIP 5750, using an extended BICE data, then any function of EIPs can actually adopt this behavior by saying, if they follow this particular structure and sending into the signature, and in fact, they can actually have multiple signatures, then a one-time permit can be done for that transfer. And then in a show and tell, let me show you what it looked like in in a reference implementation, and then you can give it a try. And also, feedbacks are very appreciated. This is the. Can I show my screen? Am I showing my
You are.
screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks good.
Yeah. So let's say you have an ERC 721, and then you want to allow people to mint, and only the AI, only when they are authorized or endorsed by whoever has the endorsing power, for example, typically an owner. What they can do is they can just add this modifier, which I have the code, to say, hey, compute this hash, and then behind the scene, once it's verified that it's endorsed with this endorsement signatures, it can proceed to do mint. This approach allows you to basically add this kind of ability to any functions that happen to have an extra data, which is EIP 5757 is about. So go check it out. I'm also promoting this ERC ref contracts efforts that I'm about anyone who are interested in contributing to ERCs or authors of ERCs to share your reference implementation, because the lovely Open Zapling, I really like them, doesn't take the bleeding edge EIPs. So I have to share them in this particular manner. And then if you want to give it a try, you can do, you can just npm sync install this and then start using it in your own contract. For example, you can just implement it. You can just import this AERC 5453 and begin using it. Now, in the context of wallets, what it provides is also the ability to do multi-signatures without signature aggregation. I think that's about it. I don't want to drag people too long. But I'm happy to stay and answer questions, or feedbacks are welcomed. Yeah, and a few stars would be appreciated.
Can you post that URL?
Oh yeah. And you promised me you will give me a GitHub stars, right?
Definitely.
Okay. Where should I put it? Let me see.
Yeah, either in general or in the chat, I guess, right, Sam?
Yeah.
Yep, that's about right.
Yeah, I think sharing you the reference implementation speaks louder than just sharing you the EIPs, but I posted both. And by the way, there's something that I need to work on, the EIP reference implementation, to make it. I need to make a decision about how it actually aligned with the EIP 1275, 127, EIP 715 12 in terms of whether to still use the structure or promote a new hash, which is function. Like I think 712 doesn't particularly address the sense of, hey, this is a function call, and so I either need to invent a struct or say this is the new hash format that we will be adopt to. So that's a pending issue. So for people who are experts on that, don't blame me for not yet solving that problem. I just call it out loud. Confess.
Awesome. Thanks for
That's it. Yeah.
showing this off.
Yeah. Oh, Sam, can I also mention that there's an Ethereum Magician meetup on the East Stanford, which is moved a day back after the WalletCon. So if you happen to be on the WalletCon, you can join the Ethereum Magician meetup on the March 2nd.
Oh, thanks for the heads up.
Thank you. Back to you.
Awesome. That's, I think, everything we had today. Thanks everybody for coming out, and we'll see you all in about a month.
See ya.
Thank you.
Will we be on Discord next time as well, or moving soon?
I should probably move it. I'll figure that out.